Hello, good afternoon, wherever you are connecting from around the world. We are so grateful to have you. Welcome to Purpose Graciously Revealed. And today we are having a great discussion here about discovering your purpose through mental health. My name is IB Dabo, and I'm your host today, and I'm the host of Purpose Graciously Revealed, which is a podcast that's going to be launching next week. And we're on the pre-launch show right now, and we're just very grateful to have with us some guests with us that are going to share a powerful story with us about discovering your purpose through mental health. These guests have experienced challenges in their life, but they have come out on the other side and they have thrived. They are thriving now in their careers. And their story is an inspiration to us that no matter the challenges that you're experiencing, you can always come out on the other side. We have with us today Jeff McQueen, who is the Executive Director of the Mental Health Association of Nassau County. And every time I talk with Jeff recently, I can feel the passion in his voice for the work that he does. And he has an incredible story to share with you all. And we also have MJ Pedon, who I've known for quite some time now, at least 12 years. And I remember when I met MJ, we are talking about the future and we had these goals of impacting lives. And years later, here we are today talking about topics that have an impact on the lives of people. MJ is the president of Indra Public Relations, and she's also a celebrity publicist. So we're just so grateful to have both Jeff and MJ here with us to have this discussion about discovering your purpose through mental health. And we also have my co-host here, Joy Kitenga Dabo, and who is um, she also has a powerful story, but I'm just gonna let Joy introduce herself, and then we can dive right into the discussion.
All right. Well, welcome everybody. Ibrahim, I'm gonna need you to unmute yourself on our friends on Clubhouse. I probably missed a little bit of the introduction, but don't worry, friends on Clubhouse. If you missed the introduction, you're going to have an opportunity to go on IB Talk on IB Double on Clubhouse or YouTube and Facebook. Not Clubhouse because our Clubhouse friend did not get the introduction, but you can go on YouTube and Facebook and get the full introduction so you didn't miss anything. I want to welcome you all on this topic of mental health. We know that at this time here it has been a very critical time of our life as we have been transitioning from the crisis of COVID, war, and everything, and suddenly mental health has gone in the on a higher level like never before. But today conversation is a looking mental health in a different perspective. How do you find purpose? How do you find meaning? And our guests are going to share their story and how we can learn from them and how they are thriving in their career, in their life, and in their family. So I want to welcome you all from wherever you're connecting. My name is Joy Kitanga Dash Dabo, and I usually like to say Dash just the fun of it and to make my husband laugh and get annoyed with me. But on that note, there, I am the founder of God Imprint, where we teach and inspire women and family to seek God and pray. I'll talk a little bit more about that when we get to the break room. But I want you to for our guests that are in the clubhouse room that you see that the purpose graciously reveal is a new club that Ibrahim just get started. So we want you to hit the greenhouse at the top and join the club. And also while we are here at the beginning, we want you to make sure you invite some friends, click share the button if you're on YouTube or Facebook as well. Share the link, invite some friends because this is an important conversation we want to have, and we want somebody that you may know to get the best of it so they can thrive in their whatever endeavor or career or family that they are. So I want to welcome you again at this exclusive interview discussion of discovering your purpose through mental health. Welcome. You are welcome here. And if you have any question, feel free to put in the chat or raise your hand. If you have your bio in your Clubhouse bio, we'll definitely have you come on up and have a question to our guests. If you're on Facebook or YouTube, please make sure you put your question in the in the chat and we'll come to it. So back to you, Ibrahim, and we're gonna get started. Remember to unmute yourself on Clubhouse.
Thank you so much, Joy, and Joy Kitanga dash Davo, and with the dash there. I'm gonna go ahead and get started with you, Jeff. Again, this discussion today is about mental health, discovering your purpose through mental health. But we also know that there are some people who might be facing some challenges and they just stuck in their journey right now. I believe this discussion is going to help you, to inspire you towards the next step in your journey. So, Jeff, I want to start with you. Tell us about who is Jeff, and what was your life experience before you experienced anything that's mental health related challenges. You wanna unmute?
Okay, there we go.
There we go.
I think that Jeff was a individual that anyone else who aspired to be something great and achieve things in their life. I was definitely a son and a brother, right? I was a friend to many people. I was an employee. I played basketball. I just had so many aspirations in my life that drove me uh, to push towards the point of excellence and to try to be whatever it is I could be in my life, right? Um, and I don't think that that's uncommon. I think that I did what everyone else did, and I think that I experienced some obstacles that prevented me from being, I guess, number one at a lot of things, but it didn't stop me from the efforts and trying and pushing forward in my life. And I come from a very humble beginning. You know, I come from I was born in South Bronx, right, in the projects. So I wasn't born on a house on the hill with the white picket fence and the dog by any means. I definitely come from humble beginnings, but I come from a family of a mother and father who worked very hard and who pushed us to always seek higher education and never to give up.
Yeah, Jeff, I've seen your pictures and I always thought of asking you, did you play basketball because the height and and you mentioned something powerful in your feedback as you are sharing just now, that you experienced some challenges, but the important thing is that you did not let it stop you from becoming who God has called you to be. That's, I think, a remarkable mindset that people can even have, experiencing no matter the challenges that they're experiencing, that they can overcome, because God is not going to give you anything that you cannot handle. So now, Jeff, tell us your experience. Share with us your experience with mental health, how the experiences, the challenges that you experienced, and how things evolve from there.
So, Ibrahim, I think what's really important to start this conversation is to first give an explanation and understanding of trauma, right? And because most people are quick to identify that there's this chemical imbalance and that's causing me to be depressed or have schizophrenia or deal with anxiety. But we're learning that this is a symptom, right, and a side effect to trauma. And so trauma is anytime an individual uh, deals with an occurrence, an activating event, and the results of that activating event exceeds that individual's ability to cope. So I'm in a car accident. There's some injuries from the car accident. the car accident may have caused a lot of anxiety and some mental trauma that brought about some fears, and I will do everything within my power to manage it. And so the doctors will help me with the broken bones, and family members will provide support. But there may be this one little thing that is occurring in my life that I'm not able to get over. And I will exhaust all my remedies to try to overcome this thing, but yet not still be able to overcome it. And this is when we begin to recognize that this has become what most identify as a disorder, right? Because it's long lasting and it continues to go on. And in spite of what I do, I can't just seem to get over the hump. And so I think what I will tell you is that growing up, living in the communities that I lived in and doing some of the things that I did, that my life experienced a lot of trauma, right? Violence in the streets, incarceration, substance use disorder. And what I began to recognize is that the trauma that I had incurred had exceeded my ability to overcome it with my coping abilities, that they were far beyond what I was able to do to cope with them. And so it required a higher level of care and a greater form of access to care in order to find some sense of normalcy, right? In order to be able to find myself able to go through life and be able to adapt to what was going on in my life. And I want to be able to try to relate this to normal circumstances, because not everyone that lives without mental illness or without a mental health diagnosis may understand what I'm talking about. So I want to bring it into more layman terms. So if you break a leg, depending on the length of time that you take and the severity of the break, depending on the length of time that it takes you to get to a doctor, could oftentimes be the difference in how close to 100% that leg and that break will heal. If you take longer to get to the doctor, the less likelihood you'll get 100%, right? If the break is extremely severe or FEMA, it could also make the difference in how close to 100% of healing and normalcy that leg will get. And so because I tried to manage the trauma on my own and didn't immediately seek help, the onset of the injury to the time of access to care was lengthy. And it took a lot longer for me to get to care than anyone would probably have thought I should. And I remember going to, doctors with my mother, and the doctor telling my mother that, he'll probably be on meds the rest of his life. I remember hearing doctors tell me that it's likely that you probably won't be able to sustain gainful employment or have healthy relationships because of the noise in my head, and so the trauma that I received was significant, and me trying to sort through and fight through life made it even more difficult without access to care.
Wow, Jeff, and thank you for breaking down trauma for us so that we can help understand some of the challenges and what's involved there. One of the key things you mentioned is, which I picked out of your feedback, is that it's important to seek help, right? So for people who might be experiencing these challenges today and they just hesitant, maybe it's because of pressure, maybe peer pressure or different expectations. What would you say to them? Because seeking that help is really important.
I I think that what worked for me, because I'm not one who gives advice. I will definitely offer a suggestion, right? Um, but I think what worked for me uh, was simply the fact that when I had arrived at a place where life was no longer, one, what I wanted it to be, and two, it arrived at a place where I was no longer in control, right? There was two key things that transpired. One, I was no longer in control, and the other one was I didn't recognize what was happening and I didn't like it, right? I didn't want to be there any longer. I didn't want where I was to be the final destination. At that particular point, it it definitely occurred to me that I needed a greater level of care, that I needed someone who had a different idea other than my own to support me through this, because my own thinking couldn't get me out of the box. Right? I had exhausted all my resources. This is why we call it trauma. I had exhausted all my resources, and yet I still was dealing with the feelings and the thoughts and the voices and the noise. And so what did that mean? That meant that I needed someone outside of myself to give me an idea that was not of my own, right? I needed a new idea. You know, they say that you can't solve a problem with the same level of thinking that created the problem. So I needed new information to help me to move beyond the current situation. And that's when I sought help. And so I think that if you're out there and you're discovering that life doesn't look the way you want it to look, and you have exhausted all your resources, the key indicator that may be about change in your life is inviting someone else in to help you sort through.
Yeah, thank you very much for that feedback, Jeff. I think that's going to be helpful to someone out there who is listening to this discussion. And if you're just joining us, we're talking about discovering your purpose through mental health. And we have today Jeff McQueen, who is the executive director of the uh, uh, Nassau County Mental Health Association of Nassau County. And we're just blessed to have him here to share his story with us. And we also have MJ Pedon, who is the president of Indra Public Relations. I want to move on to you now, MJ. So, MJ, tell us, share your experience with us and your work, your journey through mental health with us.
Ibrahim, sorry to cut you off, but I'm gonna need y'all to speak in the microphone on the Clubhouse so that Clubhouse friends can hear you as well. We can hear Jeff really good, and thank you. But we're gonna need you, Ibrahim, to speak into the microphone as well. Thank you.
Thank you,
Over to
Jai.
you, MJ.
And MJ, you can unmute too on here. Stream it.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great. Well, I just want to say happy Friday and thank you for hosting today. And for me, I think my journey clearly is different.
MJ, if you can unmute on Clubhouse.
Can you guys hear me? Okay. Okay, so for me, my journey was a little bit different. I started I started modeling, and I think, Abraham, that's when we first met. And looking back to that experience, and it was a great one that allowed me so many possibilities in my life. I was working with two of the top agencies in the world, both Wilhelmina and Ford Agency, and between the traveling and the people and so on. But there's a certain stigma around models and the way you have to look and the way you have to be. And I think that because you're constantly judged, I feel like it's kind of carried over into as I'm aging. And although I started interpublic relations and I have that side of my life that's behind me, it still remains. It's still a certain look, a certain attitude, a certain way of being, and also the stigma that's attached with women and aging. And that clearly weighs a lot on women today. It's not okay if we have a few gray hairs showing or wrinkles or we're gaining some weight. So I think that for me kind of caused, as I see myself aging, sometimes I let it get the best of me. So I'll start to panic. I'll wake up and say, oh my God, there's a new wrinkle on my face, or oh, I have to change this, or I have to do that. And it's my own personal, but I do know where it stems from. But I feel fortunate because it allows me opportunity to speak to a lot of the younger generation that's coming up that wants to model, that wants to be out in the limelight. And I do a lot of those type of talks and telling them what to expect and how to be and so on and so forth. And it also allowed me to put a lot of my anxiety with certain things in my life towards doing good. I'm very passionate about helping nonprofits. I'm very passionate working with Jeff and Ibrahim, you as well, and just doing great work. But what I want to say is that there are tools out there that allow you, when you do feel that anxiety or that stress of being overwhelmed. I'm a single mom raising a boy. I'm running my own company, and and you're balancing so many the work and personal aspects of your life, that I've now have learned the tools to. It's okay. It's going to be okay. And sometimes it could just mean squeezing handfuls of ice, ice cubes, and just breathing and relaxing. It's meditating more. There's just a lot of things along the way. But knowing that I have friends and I have family, and there are tools and resources out there to help. And clearly, there's somebody that always has something that's a lot worse, but helping those people as well. And, Jeff is, I'm sure he's going to speak about, destigmatizing mental health and really being a voice, and it's okay, and to find those resources. So again, I know that's probably really long-winded, but I do feel fortunate that I'm learning to deal with some of my own personal challenges.
Yeah, thank you, MJ. I think that's going to be really helpful for other people out there who are experiencing these challenges, and you are really thriving in your career, right? You're thriving. You are not letting these challenges, whatever the
Yeah.
obstacles, hold you down, and you're doing a good job encouraging others in your journey. Do you mind sharing some of the steps that you take actually to 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 face these challenges on a daily basis, right? How do you handle it? How do you juggle a lot of things at the same time and not
You
let it weigh you down?
I have a great support team, but also for me, when I'm busy working, it just helps me. When I have too much time to think, so,
Unmute Clubhouse.
oh, my apologies. So for me, it helps me when I'm busy. So I like to work. Being a publicist, I'm a writer, so I'm constantly writing, and I'm developing angles and stories, and I'm constantly doing things. Me and my team. I shouldn't just keep saying I, because I have a wonderful team. It's all the behind the scenes work. So I just find it easier, and again, it's just my own opinion, to stay busy, to stay focused. And when I do have that struggle, I will allow myself to have that struggle, but I also allow myself to get out of it, knowing it's going to be okay. You're going to be okay. You might feel a little anxious. Just breathe. You're not having a heart attack. You go for a walk, and that's how I learned to get out of it. And it becomes less and less, and then you go through other challenges, having people around you that are medically challenged, or may you know been giving a time frame on their life, and that gets to me, because then you look at your own mortality, and I just try to not stay in that space. You say, okay, just breathe. You're okay. You got this, and just pray, and things like that. And I just try and remain positive every day. The sun comes out, even when it's pouring rain. The sun comes out. So that's how I choose to live my life. Positive on Facebook. I always post positive morning affirmations, and I do that for myself and everybody else, to share that it's okay. The sun's going to shine.
Mm.
So those are my little tricks, but thank God for those ice cubes. It's a
Yes,
good distraction.
yes, yes. Thank you, MJ. It is going to be okay.
Yeah,
I heard you say that, and
yeah,
with faith and with prayer, it is going to be okay.
yeah.
I want to bring in Joy. Joy, to Joy can ask some questions. So she has some feedback. If you if you've seen some comments in the chat, or if you have any questions or comment, Joy, please, the mic is yours. And unmute in
Well,
Clubhouse.
I have not. This is a wonderful discussion that so far that we have, and hearing from Jeff as well as MJ. One thing that stood out to me is in the beginning is I like if we can touch a little bit more on it, is the conversation that goes on of the mental health, where we have chemical, we have trauma, and we all have also related is stress related or anxiety forces, busy, or what is that goes on out externally, so that our audience can also see, the difference of I hope that they were able to catch that, the different element of mental health is that it goes from the trauma. There's also a chemical imbalance. For me, myself, I experienced the chemical one, which is associated with postpartum depression. And the postpartum depression is associated with hormonal, which is happening as a result of once a woman gives birth, the hormone dropped drastically, and it shifted her way and method of living. So I thought that was interesting in our conversation that is brought up to our from our friends here and our guests on the stage. And I'll be interested to learn more and hear about the flow from Jeff or MJ of how you went from recognize, or even what was the key role or people that play a very major role for your transition to live and find your life purpose. Was that a full mouth question?
No, I was going to concede and say ladies first.
I'm happy to start. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. For me, my parents were big role models. My father was very philanthropic, and my father, middle class family. My father used to be a motorman. He used to drive the trains for New York City Transit, and he literally would be in his cart, and people would know in the morning he used to go down to the bakery, have buns, and serve coffee in his car. And sometimes he would come home with a homeless person. I kid you not. And we had more uncles and long lost cousins that would join us for dinner, and that we would be friends, and they would be wearing my brother's clothes, my father's clothes. My father made sure they take a shower. And that also goes for pets. So we had so many pets that joined our family. And it wasn't until later on in life that our family wasn't as big as we thought it was. They weren't long lost relatives. And they never wanted us to know that. And we were going to soup kitchens early on and giving back. And it wasn't always my father writing a check. It was getting the family involved and doing these things. And I always had a passion. And when I was modeling, I always knew that I wanted to do something in philanthropy, and that I was going to start my own company, and that anything that I was going to do, I was going to make sure I would cross market my clients. And just like when I'm fortunate to work with a lot of pro athletes and retired athletes. And when they come on, that's also part of what we do. We're asking them, are you involved in charities? Do you have your own charity? Are you involved in charities? What do you think of these type of charities? And we make sure that, again, that we cross market. So I really want to say it was my parents, it was my upbringing that really, that was instilled in me. And I feel so fortunate because I can't always write checks, but I do know the work that we do can really help bring the awareness and bring additional funds and eyeballs and so on and so forth. So I love what I do, and I am grateful, and I'm just grateful for it all.
MJ, we have something in common.
Tell me. You have a big family too with cousins?
Yeah. My father, as a minister, there was always somebody coming over in the house, and it was 10, 20 years later, you go like, oh, we're not blood related? Okay. So we got the connection there.
Oh, that's nice. Nice.
That was awesome, MJ. So I don't think my father ever met a stranger. He couldn't walk a block without someone coming up to him, talking to him, and saying something. My mother was the host of a Lifetime. Everyone was welcome for dinner. Everyone was always invited over. My friends always wanted to play at my house, right? And not because I had all the toys, but because the environment was just that welcoming. So I didn't grow up with any hatred, prejudice, or separating lifestyles of mine from anyone else's. I always felt inclusive, and I also never received information from my household that led me to believe that I was greater than or less than. Right? So nothing put me on a pedestal, but nothing also made me feel like a foot cushion. You know, I was a stockbroker for a number of years. I did mergers and acquisition for a number of years and production analysis, but I never felt purpose. You know, and I remember there was a company in Yuma that odd place, right? But there was a company in Yuma that I was sent to disassemble. It was time, you know, we were doing mergers and acquisitions, and it was time for me to acquisition the company and tear it down, and the bank needed its money. And I got there and I saw the town and I saw the people, and for some reason, just wasn't in me to do so. I just couldn't. I called back and spoke to my supervisor, and I was like, you know what? I think give me a little more time here and let me see what I can do to flip this company around. And I met with some people and other investors, and we actually put a pool together to get the company to do some mergers, provide different products, and kind of save people's employment in the town and the money and so forth. I just always believe that there needs to be something that I should be giving and not taking. And my father told me, he said, if you're not somewhere teaching, then you better be somewhere learning. This is what my father always said. He said, if you're not somewhere teaching, then you need to be somewhere learning. I never lived a life that made me feel that I was privileged, right? And even when I made a lot of money and I was doing, you know, brokerage stuff, and I never felt that I was privileged. I always felt that I too could be just as helpless or at the mercy, right, of a system or of someone else. And so when I finally got on the other side of what nearly broke me, right, because living with mental illness and dealing with substance use disorder, it nearly broke me. Like, it took me to my knees. When the smoke cleared, I had nothing. I was homeless. I literally had absolutely nothing other than a loving family, right? I will say that. Like, my brothers and sisters, my siblings loved me to the end. What other people had provided me, the support that other people gave me, is where I found my purpose. I knew then that what they were doing for me, I needed to spend the rest of my life doing for others. I just knew it. I knew that that was it. And I knew I wasn't going to be getting rich. I knew the money I saw on Wall Street was long gone. Right? But the moment I finally got to a place where one person who was struggling, and I got them to the other side and seen the light in their eye, I knew I was in the right place. I knew I was in the right place. I knew this is where I would be spending my life. And I'm going to say this and then I'm going to shut up. But this is what happened. I took on a caseload of 24 people, and I provided 24 people the best care that I could. I became a supervisor that allowed me to oversee about 70 people. And I realized that I now had the influence over 70 people to receive quality care. And this was my anchor to recognizing that I needed to be at the top. I needed to go further because I wanted to have an influence over all of the people that we care for and make sure that the care that they receive was quality care. So it wasn't because I wanted to be the boss. It was because I wanted to have greater influence over the quality of care that people received.
Very inspiring stories there, MJ and Jeff. Thank you for sharing. And that's a nice segue to where I'm going next, right? Your work with the Mental Health Association of Nassau County. The other day I was looking at the social media account and I saw you were participating in a walk. It seemed like you were participating in a walk. So tell us a little bit about the work that you do. Obviously, you've come from the other side and now you actually, again, you shared a powerful story about why you do what you do. You had the support that helped you through, and now you got into a point where you could feel the purpose and you live in your purpose and you helping and impacting other people that are experiencing these challenges right now. So share a little bit why is about the importance of the work and also the work that you do with your organization.
I wanted to make sure I was unmuted from the thing. Um, the work that my particular assignment is to provide vision to the organization, right? As the executive director of the organization, it's my responsibility is to provide vision, but it's also I have an unusual approach as an ED or CEO, and that is that I don't believe that the almost 200 people work for me. I believe I work for them, right? I believe that we're this inverted pyramid and that I'm actually your support. I need to make sure that I provide you with the adequate tools, the right location, and everything that you need to be able to do the best job that you can do, right? I also need to, as the visionary, need to make sure that the work that you're doing carries forward through the community and covers the gaps that the community has, right? That we fill those gaps of needs that the community has. So that's the work that I personally do in my role. The organization as a whole, oh my goodness. So we have about 32 different programs, and we do everything. So we're an advocacy organization, believe it or not. We believe in advocating for the care of individuals in some of the most vulnerable individuals in our community, right? We believe in advocating for them so that they have the right to equal access of care and also to live in the community of their choice. We want to make sure that people, because of their diagnosis, are not discriminated against, right? So it's really important that we understand that the number one reason why people are suffering with mental health disorder and substance use disorder is because of stigma. Not because of the illness itself, but because of the way society is treating the illness, right? And the way the society is treating the people who live with these illnesses. And so we are in the way of that stigma. That's what we do as an organization. We try to put ourselves in the position so that stigma doesn't have a place to live. You know, we want to douse it out and allow people the opportunity to live 100% of their lives in the community of their choice. And that's what we do. And we do it through a variety of ways. We provide housing in the community. We do financial literacy. We do day programs that teach people daily living skills. We have crisis programs so that when people aren't doing well or when you do have a bad day, it doesn't require you to go to the hospital. You can come to a program where people will treat you with dignity and respect and not treat you like an illness, but treat you like a person. Right? And so these are the things we do it for veterans. We do it for, seniors, adults, and all walks of life. And we don't discriminate against what the diagnosis may be. We treat you as an individual and we allow you the space to identify what's going on in your life for yourself. We don't want to label you. You tell us what's going on, and then let's put together a plan for overcoming what you decided is the problem.
That's a good one, and that's a big one, Jeff, with stigma. I remember my own journey with hearing loss when I was diagnosed in 2013. It was big for me. It was big for me to handle and to just grasp it, right? And I went in hiding. I was hiding in where I don't know. But I was very conscious about people who see me wearing hearing aids and what they think about me. And I was so focused on that it became a distraction. And thankfully, to the support of people like my wife Joy, helped me through that journey. So what you're saying, Jeff, is that the support is really important. That these people who are experiencing mental health challenges and very concerned about the stigma, to seek the help. And your organization, one of the work that you do is to help these people deal with the stigma as well, right? So, somebody who is listening right now, what would your advice be to them? Like, I just feel stuck. Just the stigma. I don't want to talk to anybody about mental health, and they're just keeping everything in, and that's affecting their potential to live into their full purpose. What would you say to them?
All right. So clearly, I don't give advice. so, so what my suggestion would be, a subtle command, is that what's in the dark grows and festers, right? Like mold, it grows in the dark, you know, but it will die in the light of exposure. And so the more you expose and talk about what's going on internally, the smaller it becomes. To your own self, it looks large and it will continue to grow as long as you are talking to yourself about it. But if you allow yourself the opportunity to talk to other people, it doesn't have to be a professional. Allow yourself to talk to other people that support you and believe in you. And you will notice that it becomes smaller. You will also learn that you're not alone. There are many of us out here that live with mental health diagnoses, from schizophrenia to depression, anxiety, panic and anxiety, you name it, schizoaffective disorder, the bipolar, all scales of it. We're out here and we live normal, productive, and thriving lives, right? You are not your illness. You just live with it, but you are not your illness. You are not your diagnosis, right? And sometimes it may feel like it, but if you allow yourself to uh, reach out and allow other people to support you and be present with you, then you will discover that you have the ability to be anyone doing anything that you decide. It's all up to you, but it begins first by breaking your own stigma of believing that something is wrong with you versus something happened to you. And that's where it has to start. There is nothing wrong with you. You are not broken. Something happened. And just like you would go to the doctor when you stub your toe or break a leg, this is no different. Something happened, and you should go seek professional help to get the support that you need so that you can live 100% of your life.
Thank you, Jeff. You are not your illness, and you have the ability to do whatever it is that you are called to do in this world. Those are powerful, powerful words there. I want to bring in Joy again. Joy, to share any comments, questions, or feedback that you might have right now with us.
Oh my goodness, this has been good. Again, let me just reset real quick for those that are just connecting in. I want to welcome Hadassah, Frederick, and again, Jordan, that has been with us from the beginning, and also a friend on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Thank you for connecting or listening to the replay. And we're talking about mental health and how to discover your purpose in the life that you may be going. And the last point that Jeff made was, you're not your illness or your diagnosis. You still have a purpose. So don't give up wherever you are in your journey. I want to transition a little bit to us ladies, because it's a one thing that some will be like, oh, you know what, it's all the guys that are talking out there, this is not to do with me. But listen, we got you too. We want to hear from our audience as well. So if you have any question, put there your question and ask any comment, put it in the chat. And I want to talk with, if I can have just a little conversation, and going to MJ, which is, she mentioned earlier about, women, us dealing with appearance, and how that can become a pain and a huddle, and also can lead to depression. For me, I shared earlier on is that my connection to mental health is a postpartum depression, which is as a result of a chemical imbalance in the body. But and then you realize that to get over that, right? I gotta deal with, oh my gosh, disfiguration due to the big belly, to the baby, 3 babies, y'all. Let me tell you, I'm still praying for this belly to go down. But we get to deal with it. We get to do it. But for you, I want to ask is the pressure of you talk about, you find yourself working, you stay focused. But if you can, talk to us ladies just a little bit about, giving not advice, as I love how Jeff said it. I don't give advice, but if I can share something to keep us lady, to stay focused. What are some of the ways that you can talk to us to stay focused? If anyone who either experiencing mental health or experiencing at the place of career transition, and they're like, this is too hard, I'm ready to give up. What was some of that wisdom can you share with our audience about transitioning and finding purpose in from where you are to life?
Sorry about that. So for me,
I do in the beginning of the year. I don't set resolutions. I set goals. And I find that that's really helpful. And for the women that are out there, I think it's really healthy for the women that choose to go back to work. And even though it is you're juggling your life and it could be very challenging, but don't forget who you are and don't lose that sense of who you are, and go back to work. It's okay. If you have somebody that's taking care of your child, or if you need to work to wait X amount of years for maybe the child to start kindergarten, so you have that time, even if it's part time. And now today we're lucky because we can work remotely, but just don't forget who you are and don't forget what you want to do with your life. And that is what I always kept my eye on the prize. And for me, when I was pregnant, my father was dying. We were in and out of the hospital a lot, and it was very, very challenging being pregnant and being so hormonal and emotional. And then I said, I'm going to take some time off for work, because I've never done that. I've worked my whole life since I was very young. And my father passed right after my son was born, just 3 or 4 weeks after. And I remember getting a phone call from one of my clients. Abraham Trent had called and said, I need you to host my golf tournament. And I was like, okay, when? And he's like, in 3 months from now. And I was so quick to go back to work. I remember the doctor saying, oh, you can't, don't work out for a month and all that. I was back on that treadmill in 2 weeks, and I was back to work, and it helped me, with the death of my father. It helped me, like, it's okay, go back to work, be who you are. The baby's going to be okay. And I was fortunate to have help. But just, I didn't want to lose sight of anything or the person that I was before. So I think it's really helpful for women to, if you're a professional before, go back to being a professional. It's okay. And just set those goals and go after them. And that's what I do. And I still set goals for myself. And then once I reach that goal, I set another. And that's, again, what helps me. And I actually shared those tips with a girlfriend of mine who has struggles, and she has 3 kids to juggle. I'm fortunate my son's now 13, and he's not so young anymore, and he's independent, but still, dealing with his schedule and working all that goes along with it. She sets some goals for herself throughout, and she's like, I could do this. And she checks one off, and then she'll call me another day and she's like, guess what? number 2 on my list. I said, keep going, keep going. And that's what I suggest to people. Just, you can do it, and whatever your mind envisions, write it down and check it off the list. It's okay. It's good.
Awesome. Oh, okay. Awesome. Thank you. Set the goals, write them down. And I love that. Celebrate them. Check the list, because I know, as a mom of 3, mine are all under 5. God bless my soul. Help me and all my part. Uh, so yes, and I experienced postpartum depression on the second pregnancies. So the transition from not only that we had to experience that. Our first pregnancy was a smooth jazz, and then the second one, that's when I experienced postpartum depression. And then before the transition, going into the recovery of what they say about 2 years of recovering from your first, a third one was already on the way. So it was like, okay, now what do we do with that? But I love that idea that you just shared, the set goals, and then you get to follow through and check them out. That is very critical, because again, that goes into the hormonal and the effect of dopamine, the reward. When you see yourself rewarding, you get excited and you're like, oh my gosh, I just did something. And it keeps your mind away from, oh my gosh, I'm this sluggish mother, I can't do this, and fall into even deeper and more stress or depression. So thank you for sharing that. That was a really good one to remember for us ladies as a mom that are out there, whether you're struggling with postpartum depression or juggling, how do I get back to life? How do I get back to working? How do I get back to myself? Follow the beautiful wisdom that has been shared. Don't forget who you are. It's like that Simba. Remember that Simba, where Simba is in the wilderness, and he finally gets to talk to his father, and his father say, "You have forgotten about me." And he's like, "How can I forget about you?" He's like, "You have forgotten who you are." And I think that just a beautiful, message there for anyone, man or woman. If you're experiencing mental health or you're experiencing any challenge, remember who you are. Don't forget who you are. Set your goals. You're not your illness. You are who you are. So over to you, my friend. Yes, MJ.
So I just want to add something, because I think it's funny about the lists. So usually every day I have a list, especially when it comes to work. Make sure I have to do these things and check them off. And then if I do something that wasn't on my list, I literally go back, I add it to my list, and I go, yes. And the girls in the office are like, you actually put that, wasn't on your list, you wrote it. I go, it's just, I got so used to celebrating my check. So every day there are things that aren't on my list that I'll do, and I'm like, yes, just do it. So just wanted to share that because it was funny. I love my list.
I love that, MJ, and that's a big reminder to me. Joy does a great job in just encouraging me. Celebrate the wins, and I think that's one of the things that's very important. Sometimes we get caught up. I do get caught up in the next thing. What's the next thing? What's the next thing? And it reminds me it's important to slow down, celebrate the wins, and then you keep moving on. And Joy does a great job with other women as well, helping women through their journey. And I am so blessed by this session that we've had. I know that it's going to bless somebody. I know that somebody who is struggling today can have hope that there is something better on the other side. I don't need to give up. I need to keep pressing on, right? And Jeff, there was something that I saw on your social media. I love it. I love it so much on the social media account of Mental Health Association of Nassau County. It's a nice graphic with some powerful words. And these are words that sometimes we often overlook, right? But they're powerful words. And just expressing them and just saying them, I'm going to read some out. It has a nice diagram, like somebody hand drew it, but obviously this is a well done diagram. And anyone, I would encourage you to check the social media account of Mental Health Association of Nassau County. One of the words there, it says, "Focus on the good." And you have the sunshine shining bright. Focus on the good. Another one is, do something you love. Do something you love. And then here we go. Love who you are. You are beautiful. You are powerful. You have a purpose. You have potential. Love who you are. I love that one. Another one says, keep being brave. And then the last one I'll mention, don't forget to, and then put a note to yourself. Jeff, this last question is going to you. Why is it important to have for us to practice affirmations like this, positive affirmations like this? I think this is powerful.
So it's said that 75% of your self-talk, is negative on a regular basis. And so you have more words that you express internally than you share externally. You talk to you more than you talk to anyone else. And so it's very important that if you are going to give out any energy to yourself, that it should be positive. And so you should have these affirmations. You should celebrate yourself. You should allow yourself to coach you into being the best version of yourself as you can be. Because the world as it is oftentimes will not think about what you're going through, where you are, what you've been through, and what you need. But you know all of the above. And so because you know that, you have to be your best you. You have to be your best coach. You have to be the one to talk yourself through things more times than anyone else. And so the best way to do that is affirmations. I strongly believe in them. I post them everywhere, bathroom window, inside the car, on my computer, they're everywhere, right? Because sometimes I forget to love me, and these affirmations remind me that I need to love myself.
Wow.
Wow. Yes.
Oh my
Wow.
goodness. Oh my
Yes.
goodness. I love that too. Affirmation is a way of reminding to love yourself. I've never heard any description about affirmation better than this one. I've been the one who'll be like, these affirmation, I'm just gonna say it. But Jeff, you win me over. I'm gonna write my affirmation and be intentional about it, because it always feels like it's a self-righteous affirmation is like, I'm good, I'm make it, I'm a this, but it seems like it's something that you got to be intentional about it, because you're already having a conversation internally. I want to read it to one of the chats posts that our friend Frederick Betty that just put in the chat. He says, when we talk about mental health, it is always associated with stigma. Some people don't seek help because of the stigma. And I believe that was touched on earlier on by Jeff as well, about how most people are dealing with stigma more than the illness itself. And then he also say, I believe in journey of finding out who we are, we tend to forget where we are. I love that. Who we are and also where we are. I don't know if any of our guests would like to tap into that or respond to Jeff. And Jeff is one of my good friends that I just recently met, and him and I are doing a 5 week series on postpartum depression every Wednesday on Trailblazers Radio. So you can go out and check him out as well. But I would like our guests, if we still a few more time, to just respond to that, to Jeff, or to Frederick, any way that you like to go with that.
Are you unmuting yourself, MJ? No. Okay. I was trying to give you the floor again. I'm always willing, ladies first. I think the statement is extremely powerful, and I'm a strong believer in mindfulness. I believe that oftentimes that the world, okay, so interpretation is extremely important, and understanding how we interpret things is also understanding how we allow things to influence us. It's our interpretation that allows things the level of influence that they have, right? If we don't interpret it as a big deal, it has less influence. If we identify it as a big deal, then it has greater influence. So a problem isn't a problem until we see it as a problem, right? And so I'm a strong believer in mindfulness. I think that oftentimes the world can displace us. And what Frederick said is real key, because who I am is great, but I also need to know where I am. I need to know my place. I need to know now, right? Like this very moment. I need to be able to identify it. I need to be able to embrace it, and I need to be able to live in it. Because if I don't, and I'm living yesterday or trying to live tomorrow, I lose today. Right? I don't get to the joy of what God has given me in this day, right? Whatever life is presenting me, whatever the energy of the universe wants to bring to me in this day, I lose it because I'm too busy thinking about yesterday and too busy worried about tomorrow. So if I allow myself this moment, I get to have that peace of mind and that joy that was meant for me right now, right in this very moment. I get to have it and get to live in it. And it also is the only one true place I have direct control over. Yesterday is gone. I have no influence on it. There's nothing I can do to change it. And tomorrow is not here yet, so I can't do anything about it either. So my real power lies in right now. So yes, I definitely agree that it's really important to understand where I am.
That was powerful, and peace of mind, living in the moment is how I would describe it, right? It's very powerful feedback there. MJ, any last words before we wrap up? This has been a powerful hour of just very valued content and information. Any last comments from you before we wrap up? Actually, on mute.
Okay, I would like to say that it's not as bad as the days you might think that it's really bad. That there are people out there, there's organizations like the Mental Health Association of Nassau County and Jeff. There are the tools, there are the programs. So reach out, get the help you need. It's not so bad. And remember, you really have to take each day. Look for that sunshine, because the sunshine's there even behind the clouds, and the affirmations and the list, all these little things help. But truly reach out to the Mental Health Association, mhanc.org, because the work they're doing and the thousands of people that they are helping really speak volumes.
Thank you, MJ. Thank you, Jeff, for joining us for this session here on Discovering Your Purpose Through Mental Health. This has been a very incredible discussion, and I know that this is just the beginning. I'm sure we would have more opportunities to share our insights and our thoughts and just around this topic to help inspire other people in their journey. And more times like this, more than ever, a lot of people are struggling with these challenges, but it's going to be okay. Like one of our guests mentioned earlier, it's going to be okay. And to live in the moment and enjoy the peace that comes with that. So I am going to be launching the podcast next week. Is going to be about purpose graciously revealed. And I would share a little background story about how it all came about and how I wrestled with my purpose over the years. And so if you are somebody who is maybe a college graduate and you're about to graduate now and you just don't know what the future holds, and maybe you just experiencing stress and anxiety, then this podcast is for you. Maybe you're a mom and you've been homeschooling your child all these years. This podcast is for you. Your last child has moved on to college now, and you're wondering, what's next for me? Then this podcast is for you. Wherever you are in your journey, maybe you're experiencing challenges, whether it's mental health challenges, then this podcast is for you, because we are going to have more discussions with guests like Jeff and MJ to share their insights with us, how they were able to overcome the challenges that they experienced, the challenges that almost held them back, that almost made them maybe even at some point in time think of giving up or maybe feeling stuck, right? But coming out of that, they are going to share their experiences with us to help inspire us and help us to motivate us to believe that we too can do it and come out on the other side. So I'm really thankful for Jeff and MJ and my co-host Joy Kitenga dash Dabo. Joy, this is the only time I get to put the dash in that name. Joy Kitenga Dabo, which is her name, my lovely wife, and she's always been my support in those times when I was experiencing really difficult challenges where I almost gave up on a lot of my dreams and my purpose, and just also dealing with the stigma I mentioned, stigma of hearing loss, right? That was the first time I experienced that. Jeff, you mentioned earlier the support that we need. Support is very important in this journey. You cannot do it alone. I could not do it alone. And Joy was there. Not only is the name Joy, but she brought joy to me in those times of sadness. And Jeff, the organization, your organization, is bringing joy in the lives of people as you experience in that transformation that you mentioned. Just seeing the light on that person's face that, yes, I can do it. Yes, I can come out on the other side. And I am going to do likewise for others. I'm going to let them know and believe that if I can do it, then you too can do it. And so your organization, Jeff, is doing an incredible job. And MJ, thanks for your incredible involvement in philanthropy over the years that I have known you. You've been involved, and we're walking this journey together because we believe that people need hope, and it is possible, and they can come out on the other side. So thank you so much for this incredible session. Thank you again, and I'm hoping we can get to do this again. Thank you so much. Bye until next time.